It's good. Doncic wins the game at the buzzer.
The More Better Podcast.
What up, everyone? Welcome back to the More Better Show. It's been a minute. We haven't done one since the All-Star break, so I had a couple of weeks off from this, but good to be back to work and good to be joined by a good friend of mine who I haven't had the chance to talk to in a little while. But my guy, Finesse, I appreciate you taking the time to jump on the show, my man. How you doing over there?
I'm doing good, bro. Everything's good. I appreciate you having me. I've been a fan of the show, fan of yours, even before we started chopping it up through guys like RC and guys like that. So love your work. Fan of you, fan of your work. Super smart guy. Everybody has nothing but good things to say about you. So really good at what you do. Even better guy. So I'm happy to be here and contribute in my small way. So let's talk ball.
Too kind, my man. I appreciate those words for sure. But plenty of ball to talk today as well. As everyone knows, we'll go through our usual segments. We'll have our homework review to kick things off. We're going to do a scouting report on the Philadelphia 76ers, and I promise we'll try and be nice. Then we'll give you our best bets for today. And then, of course, round things off with the squad ride segment for everyone in the Discord chat. But let's kick things off. Let's talk ball straight away. Let's get straight into the homework review. Finesse, I'm going to let you go first. I know that you are the prop king over there. You keep an eye on that. You got your finger on the pulse all the time there. What are you seeing in the league at the moment coming out of the All-Star break right now that stands out to you the most?
Yeah, I mean, I think this year the books are noticeably sharp. I think especially with player props, these lines are incredibly sharp. You see a lot more hooks than you saw last year. And that's what they do, right? They're the best. They know what they're talking about. So I think one of the obvious ones is, new faces, new places. KD hasn't made his debut yet, but, that's obviously going to be massive. The Kyrie dynamic in Dallas. So obviously, as sharp as the books are, there's still going to be an adjustment period. Something that I've been kind of tracking and looking at is Devin Booker. So obviously, he came back. Looked like normal Devin Booker. He's going to get his shots up. He's going to manufacture his points. But his assists have been super interesting to me. Bucks haven't really adjusted to that over the last 3 games. So we know what CP3 does, double-double machine. But over the last 3 games, Devin Booker is actually averaging more potential assists than Chris Paul is. 14.7 for D-Book and 14.3 for Chris Paul. So I think that's super, super interesting. I think DB is coming off an 8 assist game. Chris Paul is coming off, I think, a 4 or 5 assist game. So CP is going to get his no matter what, especially when KD comes back. It's most likely going to be assist galore for CP, but D-Book is really taking that facilitation role seriously and kind of blending his game, not always looking to score. So I think that's super interesting. And the Kyrie and Luka dynamic is super interesting as well. They're kind of piggybacking off of each other. We saw, Luka was a triple-double machine before Kyrie got there. Now he's kind of taking that rebounding load a little bit more with them not having presence in the paint. And we saw Luka, I think, only put up 4 or 5 assists the other day. So kind of that back and forth dynamic, them doing what they need to do to win. So it's going to be super interesting down the stretch. But the books are going to continue to be sharp, and we're going to continue to try to find our edges.
Man, there's some really sharp looks, and with Devin Booker one in particular, because I think his playmaking is still probably the most underrated part of his game. Like, he's a terrific facilitator for other guys. Seemingly makes the right plays more often than not with the ball in his hands. Able to read defenses very, very well on the fly as well. I got a question for you actually regarding D-Book before we move on from him specifically. Do you consider him to be a superstar in the league, and is he a top 15 player for you? Let's go top 20 player for you.
I think if we go 20, I think we have to put him in there. I mean, we have some great players in this league. If we're going top 10, most likely not. If we're going top 15, I'd have to start listing guys out, get my pen and paper out and stuff like that. But I mean, I think, I don't know. I catch a lot of heat for saying guys, aren't superstars or guys are. I don't, he hasn't won anything, which is huge. I think he is, right? I mean, he can do. We just talked about his playmaking. He's a certified bucket. He's a dog. I love watching him play. I think CP3 kind of coming in was great for him. Yes, I think he's a superstar. I think it's borderline though. I think some people would have no hesitation. Yeah, he's a superstar, but dude hasn't won anything. So we'll see, how it goes now with KD in the mix. But yeah, I give him top 20. I'll be nice. Give him top 20. Give him the superstar label.
I give him the superstar label. I think he makes my top 15. For me, offensively in particular, he can do everything. I think, we already said his playmaking's underrated. He's a 3-level scorer. He can space the floor. He can operate in the mid range. He can get to the bucket. He does it all, man. And his game has come such a long way over the last couple of seasons. I think CP3's done a lot to help harness that as well and develop it from a playmaking sense. For me, yeah, I think he is. But I do think he's that one player, more so than anyone else, who's always sort of on the fringe of people either have him as a superstar or they don't. And they seem pretty convinced either way. So for me, he is. And that's why I'm quietly confident this Phoenix thing is going to work out just fine with KD there, even though they did lose that depth and obviously lose a lot of that wing defense. But yeah, for me, there's just too many positives, especially on the offensive end, for this not to work to a specific extent. But those are the great looks. I love the Luka look as well, especially on his assists. Obviously, the sharing and the usage rate going down there, and obviously the need for more rebounding because they are just so undersized, and they got exposed obviously in a pretty big way at that end of the floor against the Lakers. But speaking about the Lakers, that's my homework review real quick, is I just want to touch on them because I think that the books still haven't quite adjusted to giving us fair totals on this new look Lakers team in particular. Now, their pace of play has gone down now without Russ, which isn't particularly surprising. The guy runs around like an Energizer bunny on cocaine out there. So when you don't have that guy pushing the tempo, things are going to naturally be slower. You're going to get a lot more half-court sets. The defensive end of the floor as well, his liability there because of his eagerness, if you want to call it that, to constantly try and get out with active hands and giving up easy buckets as a result. But also the acquisitions that they've made. Everyone has spoken about Jared Vanderbilt and what he can do defensively. I don't need to go into detail there. But it's more just the fit that provides for AD and allows him to just be that sort of free roaming rim protector again, which is what he does best. And that is his best attribute at the defensive end of the floor. Bigger bodies as well, like Rui Hachimura. I just think that, this is a Lakers team who might be defensively as good as any team in the Western Conference right now, because I don't think that there is a lot of great Western Conference defenses aside from the Memphis Grizzlies. And like I said, when you couple a great defense or at least an above average defense with a slower projected pace than what they've been playing for the large bulk of the season, if you just focus on these last 5 games, you're going to get projections that are well below market value for their total. So I think there's going to be a really good opportunity to bet on some Lakers unders, which doesn't sound great at first viewing, but if you just sort of focus in on what they are doing right now with this new look lineup, I think that there's going to be potential there, especially when they're still hanging totals in the 230s for this team. I think by the end of the season, we're going to see totals about 227, 228.5 for Lakers games. So that I think is something worth keeping an eye on. We'll see what we get tomorrow in terms of numbers. Obviously, if LeBron plays on it is another sort of caveat to add to that wrinkle. But that is probably the one big takeaway I've had. And then coming out of the All-Star break in general, unders have just been cashing like crazy, which has been great because we've been on the right side of a lot of those. Finesse, just quickly, do you think that continues the unders trend? And is it just because that these games now have so much meaning, especially in the Western Conference where every single game matters from a seeding perspective in that playoff race because of how close it is? Are we going to see these high totals basically plummet in a way where the value is going to continue to be there because the pace of play is going to start to mirror something of a playoff environment versus the first few months of the season where we were getting like 105 possessions a game and guys were just going up and down the floor?
Yeah, 100% agree. I think you hit it right on the head. I think, unfortunately, as a fan and as a viewer, I think these teams just kind of flip a switch. They wait till the All-Star break. Not saying they tread water, they're not trying, but they're, second half of the year, 25, 30 games left. They definitely know they're looking at the standings. They know kind of what they want to achieve, whether that's seeding purposes or making the play in or whatever the case is. So 100% agree. I think that heavily correlates with seeing more unders, less possessions, better possessions by teams. I think you're still going to have your over teams. Like Dallas got a lot worse defensively, a lot better offensively, a lot worse defensively. So it's that give and take. I think they'll just want to outscore people. But the Lakers are super, super interesting. If AD's healthy, he's one of the best rim protectors in the league, one of the best defensive guys in the league. And Jared Vanderbilt, I think he's going to quickly become, Lakers fans. I think Lakers fans are going to love him, just the effort that he gives on a defensive end. He can hit a three when you need him to. We saw kind of all he brings last game. He almost single-handedly got them back into the game just by pure effort and defense and turning defense into offense. So it was super exciting to watch. But yeah, I think you hit it right on the head. More meaningful games, less possessions, more meaningful possessions lead to more under. So I think you're spot on league wide and spot on with the Lakers.
Yeah, and for Vanderbilt specifically as well, that man's going to get paid now that he's in LA. He's been like this for a minute. Like, this isn't surprising for anyone that's followed him. But now that he's in the limelight and that he could be the catalyst, if you will, for the Lakers turning their season around and becoming a playoff contender again, he's going to catch a pretty nice contract at the end of all of this as well. So deservedly so, in my opinion. But yeah, let's see if these unders continue. I've got a couple on deck today as well. We'll get to those in the best bet segment. So hopefully we see some more defense being played and a lot more slower paced games in these coming weeks as well until the books adjust to those. But let's go into our scouting report. And look, Finesse, I promised the Discord, I promised them we wouldn't talk too much Boston, but that doesn't mean we can't slander every other team in the process. I want to bring up the Philadelphia 76ers because they're a pretty interesting team where they're kind of always going to be fringe contenders or considered contenders just because of that roster. And I mean, the biggest question for me is I don't even know how they make the roster better because it's on paper, it's everything you want. It's everything you want around Joel Embiid. It's everything you want around James Harden. Both the superstars have the perfect players and play sets around them, yet it just doesn't seem like it's going to work in the playoffs again for me, largely because Doc Rivers and his ability to get the worst out of teams in the most critical situations. And B, part of that as well is the personality, I think, of the players in that locker room. And then that obviously ties back to the coach as well, because we've heard Doc Rivers get referred to as a player's coach in the past, right? And, Paul Pierce spoke about it once, saying that, Doc is a player's coach. He listens to the players. He gives in to the players. That's not what you want if you're Philly. Like, Harden and Embiid need a guy that's going to be in their ear and telling them that this is not going to cut it. This is shit. And you need to pull your finger out. And they're not going to get that from Doc, I don't think, at any point. And the more I see Joel Embiid in these post-game interviews and this sort of moping and this feeling sorry for myself, and it's, I did everything I could and I'm unguardable, but, there's only so much I can do. That attitude just ain't going to cut it. And, again, the flaws, I think, in their game on the court, aside from attitude, is just comes down to the fact that they have these lapses in concentration. Like, they had Boston down 15 points at home in a game of great significance for them. Like, that game meant a lot to them, and they still couldn't get it done. Finesse, what's your thoughts on the Sixers in terms of their ceiling this season? And what do they need to do to get better and lift that ceiling to a point of genuinely being an NBA Finals team?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything they could do to lift their ceiling to a finals team. I think you made a lot of great points. I think we're going to see what we see from Philly almost every year. High expectations. They're higher in the standings right now. Great record. They're third in the East. We're going to see a lot of expectations, and we're going to see them fall short of those expectations. They have one of, if not the best big man in the league. Unstoppable. Love watching them play, which is great, but you need more than that to make a deep run. I see a lot of problems with this Philly team. Absolutely no bench. I don't know, you got Maxey, a very young guy. He's explosive, but very inconsistent off the bench. Guys like Montrezl Harrell, I mean, that's just not going to cut it for a deep playoff run. You have benches that are so much deeper, even just in the East, Boston included. You have benches that are so much deeper than Philly's bench. And, you mentioned playoffs and the playoffs where half court is more important, more teams are playing more in the half court. If you can game plan and stop the pick and roll game between Harden and Embiid, Embiid has once again shown his ability to make at an excellent level. So I'm not saying he can't, but if you can kind of neutralize the pick and roll, blitz him, If you have a great rim protector like Miami does, you can blitz him like Miami does, get the ball out of his hands and make guys like Tobias Harris beat you. I'm okay with that. 100 out of 100 days, I'm okay with that. So just so many inconsistent guys. Are you going to lean on Tobias Harris to give you 17 a night? I can't. Are you going to rely on guys like DeAnthony Melton to give you 12 to 15 a night? I can't see that. So I just don't think that they can. Second round exit. I think so. Like I said, I think they have a lot of potential. A lot of guys. Harden is an elite player in this league, but just how the team runs. You mentioned Doc Rivers already. It's those small mistakes that get extremely magnified in the playoffs. So whether it's rotational mistakes, timing mistakes, those are magnified even more in the playoffs. So I don't see, I'm looking at the East, I don't see them beating Milwaukee. I think the Cavs are a really, really tough matchup for them. And the Cavs are below them in the standings. Miami is a really, really tough matchup for them. I think Toronto can be a tough matchup for them. So there's a lot of teams standing in their way and who are bad matchups in my opinion. So ceiling, I think second round. Floor, I think Doc gets bounced in the first round again. I mean, that's just what I feel. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting to watch for sure.
If they get bounced in the first or even the second round, do you think Harden leaves?
No, I don't think so. I think he enjoys playing with Embiid. I think he knows kind of what they can achieve there, right? With two of the elite players in the league. I think he understands that. I mean, I'm not going to put anything past Harden. Don't ask me about Harden. I think Harden is soft as shit. So I don't put anything past him. What he'll do to maneuver out of a situation. But I think he stays. I think Doc goes for sure. I don't know I don't know how many more chances you give that guy, but maybe a new coach, new energy in the locker room, maybe changes a lot of things. Like you said, the energy that Doc gives, kind of that players coach mentality. I think you hit it right on the head. I don't think that's what these guys need. I think maybe more like a Ty Lue presence or something like that. I think would be good for these guys. Just an example, because Ty Lue is not going to go there, but we'll see. I think Doc is definitely out. I think Harden stays and tries to make it work.
Yeah. I think that Doc's a dead man walking, because I think unless they make the NBA Finals, he's gone. And for me, there's no route for them to get through the East. I cannot see them surviving 3 rounds in the East in any of the matchups that they're probably going to have to face and encounter. And like you said, it just comes down to predictability as well. They don't really seemingly have a plan B. Like you said, when they get these matchups with Miami, who do a great job of blitzing the ball out of Joel Embiid's hand, or even Boston, who do a great job, obviously, switch defense. And that's probably the best way to guard the pick and roll, is if you can switch and have bodies that can sort of stay with each guy respectively. They don't seem to know how to figure those things out. And Doc's not someone who makes the adjustments in game or even game to game in the playoffs to be able to figure it out. I mean, Blake Griffin called him out when Boston beat them shorthanded, and they kept letting Blake take open threes, and they asked him after the game, were you surprised that they just let you keep shooting? And his answer was along the lines of no, because Doc doesn't make adjustments. So and that's a guy obviously who played under Doc at the Clippers and played at playoff runs with him. The league seemingly knows it as well. This is a team that's going to let you get what you want, and if you shut them down and figure them out, they're not going to be able to make the right moves necessary. So I don't think teams fear Philadelphia in the East, and I think that's probably as big of an issue as anything else about that team, because teams fear Boston, teams fear Milwaukee. You don't want to play them, and if you play them, you sure as hell want home court advantage where possible. I don't think teams fear Philadelphia, and I think that's probably something that we again see in the playoffs, like you said, where even in the first round, depending on who they get, they're going to be given a real fight. And I think that there's very much potential for them to be upset in the first round.
Yeah, like looking at the standings, I mean, they have a possibility to pull Cleveland in the first round.
Yeah,
that's a nightmare first round matchup. Yeah. With everybody healthy, everything, you might get home court, but like you said, I don't think that matters a ton. You might pull Miami in the first round, the way the standings look now. So, I mean, a lot of movement can happen. Seeds 4 through 7 are still pretty close, but you pull a matchup like that in the first round, even if you win, it might go 6 or 7 games. Is especially with Cleveland, it's gonna be a really tough physical series. So, good luck. Good luck.
Yeah, so I'm in agreement, man. I think that the ceiling for Philly is a second round exit in the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. I just don't see them being able to make a conference final, and I absolutely don't see them making an NBA final. So I did see a lot of people in the timeline sort of listing their prices as potential value to come out the East, and I couldn't talk you off it anymore. I think that's probably one of the worst bets you could make from the Eastern Conference futures. I think it's a 2-horse race. It's Boston and it's Milwaukee, and that's it. So that for me is where we're at with Philadelphia. If you had to, real quick, we'll just deviate quickly, but if you had to pick someone out in the West, Finesse, real quick, who do you think's coming out of that Western Conference?
That one is obviously a lot tougher. I don't know. Obviously, Denver looks amazing right now. We haven't seen them maximize their potential yet, so it can be tough to kind of visualize that. I mean, they're pretty dominant right now, though, especially at home, but they're doing their thing on the road as well. Sacramento doesn't play any defense, so it's nice watching the historic offense that they're putting up, but they played no fucking defense. So that's going to be a problem. Phoenix is the X factor, right? I don't see a world in which KD doesn't work. So, I mean, if you're making me choose right now, God, it's so tough. If you're making me choose right now, I feel obligated to go Phoenix. I think they match it. If they get Sacramento in the first round or something like that, the way it lines up right now, I think that's an easy first round. I think they can. I think they can slay Memphis. They're obviously not going to have home court against Denver, which is going to be tough. Yeah, I'd say Phoenix. I mean, we haven't seen anything, with the roster constructed the way it is now, but they got a bunch of dogs. They got guys coming off the bench who play defense, can shoot the three, which is more important in the playoffs. Yeah, I'm gonna go Phoenix.
I think it's interesting, people talking about Phoenix's depth and the lack of depth that they have. I don't mind their bench. I don't think it's terrible. I think it's more than good enough considering the upside that their starting lineup has.
Yeah,
and that's all you need. With the playoffs are 8-man rotations, and your starters are going to be playing 38, 40 minutes. So, you just need spot minutes from the bench, and I think you'll get that from the guys that they have on that roster for sure. I think I agree. If I had to pick someone, you probably have to go Phoenix. I think the West is just going to be one of those things where it's going to be entirely matchup dependent. Like one team could come out of the West if they get all the right matchups, and they could also be out in the first round if they get a matchup that's terrible for them. I think the Clippers are a perfect example of that. If the Clippers get Denver first round, Denver owns that team. Denver wins probably in 6 games. But if the Clippers get any other run, they could easily come out of that Western Conference because of how they match up with teams like Memphis and Sacramento, like you said. I think they're probably the worst matchup for the Suns because of Kawhi and PG being able to throw those bodies at KD and Booker specifically. The West is just crazy. I'm not confident in picking anyone until we see what the 1 through 8 seedings are and what the path to the finals is for all of those guys. So
we can't forget. I mean, Golden State right now is in a play-in. Obviously, they've had major health issues this year, but say they sneak across that line and make it, as a 6 seed or 5 seed, they're still obviously dangerous with the pedigree. We saw what New Orleans did. I mean, they're 10th right now in the West. So we saw what they did last year. I think there's definitely going to be some surprises. I think, like you said, matchup dependent. I think Sacramento can beat some teams just purely on offense alone. That team is so exciting to watch. So I think they can make some noise for sure. I think we're going to see 1 or 2 surprises in the West, and I 100% agree. Matchup dependent. We'll see how kind of the seeding falls, and then kind of be able to make more accurate predictions for sure.
Yeah. The play-in's going to be wild in the West as well. We're probably going to get the Warriors, Lakers, Pelicans. I reckon all 3 of those teams are going to be involved in the play-in in some way, shape, or form. And if Zion's back, and then of course if the Warriors are fully healthy, that play-in is going to be stacked in its own right. So the West is going to be crazy from here on out. It's going to be super exciting. But I think we wait until the seedings are done before we start making any concrete projections there. In the East, do we say it, Finesse? Do we just say the East runs through Boston?
Yeah, I mean, it's really simple. That one's way simpler, short conversation, way simpler. We'll spend our time talking about the West,
100%. All right, let's get to today's best bets, man. Let's take a look at the card. It's only a small card today. I'll take my two real quick because they're pretty straightforward. I've got a couple of unders, starting with the Charlotte and Detroit game. I got it under 237.5. That's come down a few points now. It looks like 234.5 across the board. The Pistons playing shorthanded, a few guys ruled out, which helps, of course. But just another one of those where I think the pace of play and the projected number of possessions that I've got sits lower than what the market seems to be projecting. I have both offenses as well due for regression. Both defenses performing better than what the market and what their output suggests as well, especially Charlotte, which is quite strange. Their transition defense over the past month as well, not just a small sample size, has actually been top 5 in the league. So they're doing a really good job of forcing teams into the half court. And if they stop the Pistons from being able to run and play half court, I think they get enough stops. And, this is such an inflated number that it doesn't take a lot to go under. If you just have a couple of minute dry spell of no field goals made, that can be enough to throw off a total like this. So comfortable one for me here. The only other one I played was the under in Orlando and New Orleans. That one's gone up, which is interesting. So the market disagreeing. I think I might buy back again. I got 225.5. I can see 227.5. Like I said, I think I'll buy back again and we'll see some late under money there before it does close. The Pelicans tail spinning at the moment, but I do think coming back home is going to make a pretty big impact for them. The Magic, one of those teams where their offensive numbers are really bad. As good as they've been performing lately, there's going to be some serious offensive regression coming for Orlando in a pretty big way. Their defense still matches up well in a game like this. The Pelicans obviously love operating in the mid-range. And the length and size of Orlando is just enough to make life difficult and uncomfortable there. Exact same thing on the flip side. The Magic, not a team that spaces the floor particularly well. They love to get into the mid-range. They love to try attack the basket. The Pelicans got the size and length as well to disrupt that. So I think that this is going to be one of those games where possessions are hard to come by in terms of points and open looks. So again, I'll probably buy back on the new number here, but that's the number I got. Just those two for me today coming out. Hopefully we keep this all-star break run going. Finesse, what are you looking at today? What stand out to you on the board?
Yeah, we'll keep in that same game. I actually have two looks I like in that game. So first one, relatively straightforward. I'm going back to BI, Brandon Ingram over 24.5 points. If that's moved up to 25.5, I recommend pivoting to 25 plus for a little bit more juice. That's just me though. Completely fine with 25.5 as well. He's covered the 24.5 line in 7 of his last 8, 3 straight home games, 30 plus and 3 straight wins. New Orleans is currently a favorite. I think they're -4 right now. So 30 plus points and 3 straight New Orleans wins. I look for consistency. I want to know what to expect from guys. And BI is a perfect example of that. His volume has been super consistent. He's averaging over 21 shot attempts per game over his last 10 games, 21 plus shot attempts in 4 straight games. So we love to see that. 5 plus 3-point attempts in 3 of his last 4, and 5 free throw attempts in 8 of his last 10. So we kind of know what to expect there, which is great. If the guy doesn't make shots, the guy doesn't make shots. But if he's going to take, 20 shots, 5 free throw attempts and make a couple of threes, I'll take that all day. We all know watching BI, his mid-range game is deadly, especially as a late. Over his last 10 games, BI is getting over 26% of his points from mid-range, which is elite. That's top 5 amongst players with 30 plus minutes. And that's great versus Orlando, who allows the second most field goal attempts from mid-range. I think you mentioned that. Orlando likes to try to run guys off of the 3-point line, kind of get them in that mid-range and paint area. And that's where BI works. So love that. He's covered in back-to-back games versus Orlando, averaging 30 points per game. The last one was a while ago. So, I don't put too much into that. No one on this team is going to check BI. My assumption is that they try to put Wagner on him. Wagner's actually a pretty good defender by the numbers. He has one of the best defensive ratings on the team, but still, no, I don't see him matching up well with BI. I'm expecting a bounce back performance as well. He went 7 to 22 from the field last game, so I don't see BI having 2 stinkers. And that's one where we talk about he attempted 22 shots, only made 7. I think he finished with 19 points. I'll take that. I'll make that bet every single day. Another little pivot, just a little nugget. I took this as a straight bet, juiced. A lot of people have different feelings about that. I'm cool with it as a parlay piece as well. Valanciunas double-double. We've made money off it before. It's always about minutes for Valanciunas. If he's going to get 25 minutes, he's going to get you a double-double. So I think this is a matchup where he does see the minutes based on who Orlando's going to deploy Wendell Carter Jr., Mo Wagner, the more traditional centers. 25 plus minutes, 14 straight double-doubles, 18 his last 20, and 13 straight home games double-double. So pretty much automatic. No Nance Jr. tonight, and his minutes slightly go up with no Larry Nance. About 28 minutes per game in those situations. Orlando's bottom half of the league in opponent rebounding, bottom 10 in offensive rebound per game to opponents. 5 straight double-doubles versus Orlando, averaging 20 points, almost 15 boards. 6 straight double-doubles versus Wendell Carter Jr. So we love that. He's just dominating the matchup. Averaging 10 shot attempts per game and 17 rebound opportunities per game. So, like I said, the volume's going to be there. I think the minutes are going to be there. If the minutes are there, the double-double's almost as safe of a bet as you can get. So, whether you want to take that straight, I took it for minus 150 last night. Again, some people would laugh at me, call me crazy. That's fine. I like it as a parlay piece as well. So, BI over 24.5 points and Big Val double-double.
Yeah, I just really quickly as well, I have no problem laying that price. Just people that don't want to lay juice, like if your bet is still more representative of being a higher probability than what the market is suggesting at the price, you play it straight up. I don't care if it's minus 200. If it's minus 200 and you think it should be minus 350, you lay minus 200. Simple as that. So that's just a quick little caveat before we get into it. But I like that a lot. Those looks a lot. I think as well, one thing that Mitch Armstrong in the chat pointed out, CJ actually came out recently, said he's got ligament issues in his thumb. And, I think that kind of correlates with him deferring a lot of his shooting and scoring responsibility. So I like both BI and I like Valanciunas' points as well today in that matchup. I think he gets his looks on the inside and I like him to do some scoring as well. And like you said, the importance on crashing the glass in a matchup like this as well, big bodies, cleaning up defensively, but in particular, two really good looks there. I think BI as well is going to live at the line today.
We're talking about a 35% usage rate over the last 5 games, which is elite.
Yeah.
That's top 4 in the league amongst starters and stuff. So that's elite usage. So I think the ball is going to be in his hands. We just need shots to fall. I think the shot attempts will be there, which is all we look for. And yes, I think he lives at the line as well.
Yeah, he'll absolutely get his today. Like you said, you live with the outcome. As long as the volume's there, you live with the outcome, especially with elite players like that are going to get theirs. Quick question in the chat about Miami's team total today, under 105.5 on the road against one of the best home teams in the regular season, at least at home in Philadelphia. This game's going to be pedestrian pace. Like they're going to be walking up and down the floor. Neither of these teams has any interest in playing in transition. Both late shot clock execution. I think my only concern with a number like that is when it's that low, it doesn't take a lot to go over, especially if they're able to get to the line themselves, which Jimmy Butler's probably going to be able to do in this matchup, which he seems to take personally every single time he plays them. I am lower on Miami's offense, I think, than anyone in the world. I've been saying it since the preseason. I will continue to say it. This team is super flawed offensively. So I would only play an under, but I just don't have a strong enough edge there. I can't remember my projection off the top of my head. I did have it under that number, I'm quite sure, but not by a lot and certainly not enough for me to actually want to play it. However, if you want to play that angle, like I said, that's the only way I would play it. I couldn't talk you off it. Finesse, you got any advice on that one? Miami Heat team total under 105.5?
Yeah, I mean, you're much smarter with that shit than I am. But yeah, I think the number is obviously super telling. It's a very low number. I think that's also because Philly's -6. So they're expecting Philly to give you, 110, 111, and expecting the Heat to give you around 105, 106. Yeah, I think it'll be a super sharp number. Like you said, the pace is going to be extremely slow. I think it'll be a super sharp number without looking at all and kind of diving in and capping it. I think it'll be too sharp to maybe play. I think it could be a sneaky look, right? If you're expecting a super slow pace, possessions to go down, to, last 5 seconds of the shot clock most of the time. I see a world where the Heat don't score 100 for sure. Philly's defense has been one of the best in the league. Any metric you look at, points, defensive rating, anything like that. So, not going to tell you to take an over. Can't fully endorse the under. I think it's just too sharp of the line.
Yeah, definitely better looks on the card and definitely better looks on tomorrow's slate as well, which is a much bigger one today. But that's our best bets for today. Like I said, I got a couple. Finesse gave you a couple there. We'll keep track of those. It's time, though. Let's take a look at the squad ride. Chris, let's cue it up and let's get these DGens what they want.
You're very confident, I'll say that. but you shouldn't be.
All right, Finesse. So here's how it goes for those who haven't tuned in before. We got our Discord. We got a bunch of DJs in there, some sharp as hell, some less sharp. Let's just leave it at that. But I'm going to read out what they've put in the Discord chat as their best bets for today. You go through them one by one, man. You take your time with this one. You pick out what you think is the best bet. That'll be the official squad ride for today's show. Everyone will jump on that one. Current record is 7-5 on the season, which is impressive. I did not think they would sit above 500 since we started this show, but they are doing all right, man. They're doing all right. So I'm going to read them out to you real quick. Like I said, you take your time, talk them out loud if you want to, but you tell me which one sticks out to you as the best. So we've got Hornets first quarter -2 against the undermanned Detroit Pistons now. Marcus Smart over 5.5 assists. Detroit Pistons team total under 114.5. Brandon Ingram over 1.5 3-pointers made. LaMelo Ball over 17.5 rebounds and assists. And Jason Tatum over 12.5 rebounds and assists. Those are the plays put forth that I managed to catch before the show anyway. Which one of those stands out to you the most, or is there a couple that you really like the look of there?
Yeah, obviously I'm on BI already. If you look at where he's getting his points from, very few of those are coming from three. He's a guy that can go 1 of 4, 1 of 5 from three. So not super confident in his threes. It can hit in the first quarter, but not super confident about that. Much prefer his points. LaMelo's tough. I think they said Charlotte first quarter as well. This missing player theory is strong as fuck. So I know, no Bogdan, no Duran, no Ivy. It seems like, it's going to be a smash spot. I try to stay away from those spots. So I was big on first quarters last year. Just so much variance within 12 minutes of basketball. Not super high on that. I could definitely see it happening. I could see them winning by 10 in the first quarter. LaMelo 17.5, big number. He can't hit the number. Obviously, he's probably been hitting the number. It was JT and what else?
Let's just get to the Celtics looks. Yeah, JT over 12.5 rebounds and assists.
Yeah,
and Marcus Smart over 5.5 assists.
Yeah, okay. So I was talking with my guys about Marcus Smart 5.5. You look at his hit rate, hasn't really been there, but without JB, the assists are there. Amazing hit rate, amazing potential assists without JB in the lineup. I think shit has shifted a little bit since last year. Derek White's taking on a lot more responsibility, throwing Brogdon in the mix. I think it kind of throws off. Marcus Smart is completely fine with dribbling the ball up the court, passing it, and going to stand in the fucking corner and just watching the show. So I don't mind the 5.5. I believe it was plus money last time I looked at it. That's the only way I would take it is plus money for 5.5. Not mad at that. I think my favorite one would be the 12.5 rebounds and assists. I like Jay. I was looking at his PRAs earlier as well. I think he has a game. Who are you going to put on him? Probably PJ Tucker. But we love the screen game. We love to kind of hunt matchups. So I think JT is going to do that as well. Coming off a subpar game, he did hit the game winner, but it was still a subpar game against another good defense. So it'd probably be JT. I mean, we're usually getting a number at 13.5 to 14.5. So we're getting that slight discount probably because of the matchup. I think it's going to be a good game tonight. I think we're going to see some points. I think it'll be an explosive game. So with that said, probably be JT over 12.5 rebounds and assists.
I like it a lot as well because I think JT is going to spend a lot of time playing the 4 in this particular matchup. And when he does play the 4, he crashes the boards, man. He's very active, cleaning up the boards defensively. And I think that there's going to be high potential for a pretty high assist output for him in this one as well, just with how New York plays defensively. When he drives, they are going to collapse in on him. He's become really good at reading those situations, kicking out to the open guy in the corner as well. So if they make those looks, this number is going to look pretty short. 12.5 rebounds and assists. We're going to go over on Jason Tatum there as the official squad ride pick for today. It's good, man. You didn't pick our guy Zachariah's pick, which is great because he's like 0 for 3, I think, on the show and is really letting the squad down. So I'm glad we missed on that one. But if LaMelo Ball hits, we're not going to hear the end of that one.
Yeah.
That'll do though for us on today's show, man. Like I said, it's a small slate, but it's always good to chop it up, talk some more basketball. It's great to be back. Like I said, it's been a couple of weeks since we've had the chance to do one. If you haven't joined the Discord, just click the link and come talk with us in the community chat, man. We always have some fun in there where we can. We'll look to keep things rolling. Finesse, I appreciate you immensely, my bro. Thank you for taking the time to join and jump on. But for anyone who hasn't come across your work yet for whatever strange reason, let them know where they can find you and all the stuff that you're doing.
Yeah, I'm not here to promote. I'm here for you, bro. So yeah, you can find me on Twitter. It's right there. A lot of free stuff going on Twitter. So that's one thing that I said would always remain the same. Kind of looking out for the family over there. So catch me over there, DM me. I don't mind chopping it up about anything. If you have questions, I'm big on trying to get better every single day, trying to learn from the variety of smarter people that are around me, which I've had the opportunity to do. Very lucky. Guys like yourself, they're just countless guys. So, any small way which I can give back. If you have any questions, any looks, anything like that, feel free to DM me. Yeah, a lot of fun. I appreciate you thinking about me and kind of and reaching out to have me on the show. Love it. Any new ventures that my guys are doing, I love to see it. I love to see the grind. Like I said, you're killing the NBA, so keep doing that. And yeah, I appreciate it. I had a lot of fun, and hopefully we make some money tonight.
We will, my man, and we'll get you back as well come playoff time so that we can do some victory laps at the end of every series as well for all those Boston fans. But again, my man, I appreciate all the kind words and thank you for taking the time to come join us this side of the world as well. To all the Discord DJs and everyone in the chat, I appreciate you guys as well for making the show what it is. I'll hit up all of you guys in the chat real soon. Good luck with all your bets today. Best of wishes. We will be back in a couple of days' time. I'll be back solo to tackle that show, and we will chat some more hoops then.